Okay, so this video is going to go over the KM transform. So let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is open up Igor. All right, so once that's open, you're going to notice you have the data browser, your table, and your command line. You're going to be using these three things as you do the analysis. So first things first, you're going to make sure that you have these macros on with Igor. So these macros are going to include in the Igor procedure, convert to CSV, and the FTIR data 712. I'll send these to you, but I believe Jorge just sent these to you too in this recent email with the files. And so before we get into like getting into the file uploads and the scans that we just recently took, I'm going to work on this folder here, which is just a folder with a few oxidized diamond batch data scans. This is going to be like good practice. And then also you can follow this video and work on the same files and work on the same file set. That way everything looks correct. Then you can start moving forward into your other task files that you need to do. So in this video, we're going to be going over how to set up the files into Igor. We're going to go over any like error messages and just kind of the process of creating your lines in your norm file, and then go into the KM transform, Kubelka-Munk transformation. So let's go to Igor. So we can just click on any of these little windows here to make sure that Igor pops up right here. And we're going to go to where it says FTIR, and you're going to make a file list. I will send you this folder where it says the NDOX1026. I'll send you that as is. It will look like this. That way, when you are following the video, you can see exactly if everything is uploading correctly. So once we clicked on the file list, we're going to go to that folder. So find wherever you save that folder at and click there, and you're going to click choose. You're going to make sure it says CSV and choose file type. Click continue and make sure it's in the same file and click save. Then you see that it's saved here. Next, you're going to go to Omnic up here on the Igor toolbar here and go SPA to CSV. You're going to basically convert those files names so that it can upload to Igor. So you're going to click choose, and then you see that all the CSVs are coming up right here. And if you go to Igor and you go to your data browser, you'll see that they're all here. Now, what you'll notice is that some have this K underscore. This is called an X wave. You're going to be working with your X waves and Y waves as we upload our data and our graphs and stuff like that. So whenever you see a K underscore, you know it's X waves. When it's not, it's your Y wave. Okay. So click a few things to note as you're uploading, as you convert into SPA to CSV, is that whenever your file names are, or if this file name is longer than 30 characters long, it will not upload. 30 characters means from here all the way to the end of the extension. So it's not just ending it here. You need to include this .spa as a count for the 30 character length. So if you are renaming a file and it is longer than 31 characters, it's not going to let you do it. It'll give you an error message saying something like name too long or something. And then you just got to make sure that you rename it so it's shorter than that. As you can see here, these characters aren't 30 characters long, so it worked perfectly fine. Okay, so now we are ready to start our analysis. So we're gonna just click on two files, so an X wave and a Y wave, like I mentioned. So I'm gonna click the two that corresponds to each other. So here's this NDOX 550C underscore 1, and here's the X wave to that file. So I'm just gonna hold Shift and click, and you see how it selects the two. Whenever it turns blue right here, it just means you can rename it. But what you're going to want to do is you always want to get this onto to get this on the file uploaded and the analysis on the graph. You're going to want to double click where it's black and white. So we're going to double click and you'll see a table pop up here. So it looks like this one, but it's a new table. So you can actually close this table down, because every time you double click on two corresponding files, you just double click on any file, it will upload a table. So we selected the two and uploaded because we want to have columns here. this is where we're going to start uploading, or we're going to start making our line column, our norm column, and then our KM transfer column. And I'll show you how to do that just right now. So click on any column like this one and just copy, and then click on the third column and put paste. Now we want to rename it because this is going to be the line. This is going to be our line column. So you want to correspond with that. And so what I like to do is I like to keep the file name the same. So remember it was this NDOX550C_1. I'm going to keep it 1, but obviously you can't save it like this because it says it already exists. So then just click underscore and then name it line. That way, when you are creating multiple scans and multiple columns, you know exactly what file you are working with or what file this line corresponds to. So we'll click do it, and you have your line column. Next is you're going to create a graph with those X and Y waves, right? So you're going to go to new graph, and you're going to find the file. So it was this one right here, NDOX550C_1. Now remember, this is the Y section. This is Y wave section. So it doesn't have the K underscore. On this side, it says X wave. So you need to find the X wave that corresponds with that. So that is going to be right here. And you can click add, and you see you have your Y and your X. Click do it. All right, so this is your data point. This is how it should look. Now, when we do KM transforms, our x-axis is always reversed. So we work from the high here and then it goes lower. Okay. So to do that, to reverse your axis, you just double click anywhere on the x-axis. So I'm just double click right here, and then this menu will pop up, and you just click reverse axis. All right, and then you click do it, and now it's reversed. Now we're ready to create our line. So as we remember, we created this line column right here. Now we're going to add some applications to it. Okay. So in order to do so, you're going to go to analysis here and go to curve fitting. You'll see that this menu will pop up, and you want to make sure that, again, your Y is corresponding to your Y data. So we go back and we click here, and our X is corresponding to our X data, which is right here, the K underscore there. And everything else stays the same. Data options, you don't need to do nothing there. And output options, you don't need anything there. What you're going to focus on is this one, coefficients. Go over here on this corner where it says auto guess and click manual guess. Keep this as default. Do all this now. Okay, and now we're going to start plotting our slope. Now, you want, the purpose of the slope is that you want the data to kind of connect with one another. So rule of thumb is usually you want to start in the 4,000 range and have it connect to either like the 2,000 or even 1,500 if you can. Right here, you see that you can kind of create a line and you can kind of slope it downward this way, and it kind of just slightly passes this 15, but it still can connect to 2,000. Okay, so we're going to do that, and I like to just throw in a random number, so I like to just do like 70, and then I like my slope to be not too large. I'm not trying to have a large slope because it doesn't look like the slope is that large, where it just slopes down here. So I'm going to put something like 0.009, right? And then you click graph now. Okay, so you can see we're pretty close. We just need this to kind of come on top. We want the line to float on top of our scans, not cut through it. So as you see here, it cuts through it. We don't want that. If you have stuff that starts cutting through, your analysis point starts becoming negative, and you know your lines and graphs after you do the KM transforms can subtract more than usual, and you don't get a very efficient graph. So we don't want that. We don't want that to be the case. So I already know what line values to put because I did this one already. So, but pretty much what you want to do is that as you see this here, you want this line to kind of rise above, right? You want it to reach this part. So to make the lines rise, you change this, you increase this number. So you see that increases. And to make this line sort of flatter, you decrease this number, or I'm sorry, you increase this number. So we're going to put 0.08, or we can put like 0.07, and then you can just keep going. Sorry, you decrease it. Sorry, not increase. So if you increase it, then the number becomes, your slope becomes very large, or it becomes very like, let's do something like that. See, it becomes super large. So you want to decrease it. So let's go 0.006. Okay, so it looks pretty good. And then you just want to rise this a little bit. So let's do like 83. And boom. So you have it connecting from the 4,000 to the 2,000. In some cases, maybe this part is a little higher up. This middle part is a little higher up. And then you want to just like connect the 2,000, 1,500 in. You want to make sure that the middle part is kind of relatively what you're focusing on. The reason why I did the 4,000 on this one is because this is too large down. This is too far down. If I was to connect this point and this point, the slope will come all the way and it'll pass the 4,000 number and it'll be way up here, which is just way too far. So this is kind of a good, it's close to this one and it's still not too far off of this one. So when you are doing your data points and collecting more KM transforms, you can adjust these and start seeing how the graph is affected when you change this line. But pretty much we're going to work off of this. So now that you have your values, you want to make sure you just save, or not save it. You don't want to click do it. You just want to click cancel, but you want to make sure that you know the exact values that you're going to use, because you're going to input this in this command line right here, over here. So I already know the value, so it's 83 and then 0.006. So I have saved all the equations for each section. So I have my equation for my line, I have the equation for the norm, and equation for the KM transform. I'm going to send this with the email with this video, so you'll have it. So right now we are working with the line, so let's copy this and put it down into our command window right here. So we have our line, A plus B, or in the parentheses is B times X wave. So this makes it easy because all you gotta do is just substitute the value your files. So for example, this is line. You just double click, highlight line, and what you're gonna want to do is you want to find it in your command window. So right here, you see there's a line. You just double click. So if you see that where it says NDOX, you just double click that, and then you'll see that it highlights everything. If it's not highlighting everything, you can just click and hold all the way through. Once you have it, and once this is highlighted, you want to click enter, and you see that it just replaces it with the one you had selected up here. And then, for example, another one is A. So your A value, remember on the curve fitting on this thing, your A value was 83. So you're going to substitute 83 here and 0.006 here. Click cancel again if you upload that again. So 83 here, and then your B value was 0.006. And then now we got to substitute the X wave. Remember, your X wave is always starting with the K underscore. So you have it right here, K underscore. And click enter. Now you have the equation. You have your line is equal to the values that you put for your slope. This part is in parentheses because this is what you're doing first. And then you're going to click enter, but wait. To make a rule of thumb to make sure things are working properly, before you click enter on the command line, make sure that you have your command window or your table window open and see the values change. The values should get larger in the line column. So boom. So you have it here and it changed. It went up to 86. So that's how you know it kind of worked. And then if you to double check your work to make sure it worked, is you want to go to your graph, right click anywhere except not near the lines. Don't right click near the lines, or you're going to get menus like this where it's trying to edit the line, the trace that you're clicking near. Just right click anywhere, and you're going to go to append traces to graph. This will be the first one here. Now what we're going to do, we're going to add that line that we just created. So it's right here, ND underscore 1, and then this is X wave, so I mean Y wave, so you want to make sure that we select it here. And then for your X wave, select that X, the same one, this one right here. Click add, or I'm sorry, yeah, you can click add, and then click do it. And now you see that the red line, the red trace we just did, went right over the blue line. So we know it worked because it went directly right over where we had our slope. So this is good. So now this is how you create your line. Now we can move forward in creating the norm column, and then after we'll do the KM. So again, like you did this column, just click on the column, copy and click on the next one right next to it and click and then paste it. Again, right click, rename it. This is a norm. So again, like I said, make sure their name corresponds with the ones you're working with. As you start, again, when you start working with more files and more, you're going to have stacks and stacks of files. You want to make sure that you know exactly what scan you're renaming and what scan is renamed to what and what norm is doing what and what KM is what, stuff like that. So I have an _1 _ norm, okay? And you click do it. So now we have our norm. Remember, go back to where your equations are. So remember, we have all the equations already saved here. So we have on the norm, we have norm is equal to the y wave divided by line. So you copy that and you paste it here. Once you paste it here, again, you double click to substitute what those file names are. So for norm, this is our norm. We have it here. You find it in your command window. As you start making more commands and doing more graphs, this thing is going to be, you're going to be able to scroll through a lot. So make sure that you know how to scroll through, how to find the names, and click and drag and stuff like that, so you know exactly how to find them and upload them onto your command line. For the Y wave, you select what the Y wave was, which is this guy. Remember, the X K _ is your X wave. This one's your Y. Click enter. Double click on line, find your line again. We'll find it. It doesn't matter where it's at. You can click it from here. I can click it right here. It doesn't matter wherever the file names exist. As long as you just find that file name. If it matches, it needs to match with this. So this name needs to match with that name. And you click enter. And now we have it here. So your norm is equal to your y wave divided by line. Before you enter, again, look at your column. See if the values change. It should get smaller. So you see it got smaller. We want to double check our work again. So what you can do at this point, and what I like to do is I like to duplicate this window. The reason I like to do that is because sometimes, like I said, sometimes your KM transform may look a little wonky if you had it maybe connect from the 4000 to 2000. And it looks a little better if you connected from the 15 to the 2000, depending on, or you connect the middle points basically versus this longer point over here. Or sometimes it's better to like maybe have the 4000 a little bit off and your 1500 number a little bit off. Like maybe it's just like even match, like having it float right here and then having this float right here. Again, it all depends after you make your KM transform. But an easy way to fix that is that when you have a duplicate window like this, so to do this, you just click on the window and you put Command D if you have a Mac, or Control D, and now you have duplicate. And like I said, the reason why we do this is because if you want to go back and edit, you can always just close this window down and then edit the line here. Remember, go back to curve fitting and start editing the line and then applying the equations like you did back here, and then it'll just adjust lively. It'll just keep updating itself, and then you can see how it changes, how it looks, and see if you're doing it correctly. But for now, it's gonna look, it's gonna be pretty decent considering where the line is at and how the data points and how the wave is. So we don't need to change anything. So I'm still gonna keep this window open, and I'm going to append the norm file we just did. So again, right click anywhere on the graph and append your norm file now. So your Y wave right here, X wave is already selected, great. We're just gonna add and click do it. Now, as you can see at the bottom, it's very small. You can't really tell because when you normalize, you are making this Y value very small. So in order to see what happens is that you want to remove these because these are too large. So, and that's fine because remember, you still have the backup here. So remove them, you just right click and click remove. Right click on wherever you are. Right click, click remove line, and then right click again and remove this fit that you just did. And now as you see, Y wave is very small, but it looks sort of similar how you have it. See, it's just that it's just gotten smaller. The Y wave's a little smaller. The traces of it a little different. Like you have this kind of P kind of matching this area. As you can see, like here, it's kind of connected. So you can see what you are doing when you connect these points. You're kind of normalizing the data, so it all kind of matches through. So it's great. So it looks good. And so next thing we're going to do is our final thing, which is the KM transform. So you know how to do it. You just copy the column, paste it here, rename it to KM. Keep the file the same. Keep rename it to KM. That way you know what you're working with, and click do it. All right, so now we have the KM here. And now we're going to take the last equation, which is on here. And this is our last one. Km equals the parentheses. You have two parentheses, and you want to make sure that they are separated. So you have this 1 minus norm file here squared, and it's divided by 2 times the norm file. So put it onto here. Select Km and substitute your sets. So you have Km, substitute for the Km file. You have your norm, find the norm. Norm is right here. Again, it doesn't matter where you find it, just as long as you find it. And there you have it. Check back on your column table and watch it change. Oh, it got even smaller. The values got even smaller. Now, final thing is you want to append that trace to your graph. So find it here, and it's already on the X5 wave there, and click do it. And as you can see here, it's like I said, it's smaller. And now the final thing is now you can just remove this. Remove it. And this is how it should look. This is a KM transformation. It went from this to this. And again, going back, like I said, keep this file open. If you need to make any changes, change your curve fitting. Go back to curve fitting. Change the values. Change the values to, 80, or we can do it to like 6.7 or something. Change, if you need to change it, click cancel. You see that it kind of changed. I know it looks it looks worse, but I'm just saying, like, the whole point is to make sure that you can do some adjustments. And if you need, and then now we need to make sure that this line matches the new trace that we just did. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your line equation, which we just did here. You can triple click, and it should select the whole thing on your command window, and then change your value. We did 6. We put line is equal to 83. Kept that the same, and then we put 6.7. Remember, we put that, and you click that, and then boom, it changes. And then you go back to your norm, and this is where it gets kind of easy when you start editing things, because when you again triple click, you go to your norm. Since your line is the same, you just click enter, and that changed the norm. And now for your KM, which is right here, this KM is going to adjust based on the new line you just created. And you see a little, little adjustment. It wasn't that big because we just changed it from 0.0067 from 0.006. But again, this is why you keep these two things open, so you can make the adjustments where needed. Okay. And that's pretty much it to make your transformation. When you are ready to start submitting these graphs and making sure that they are publication ready, we'll go over that in a different video where we start like adjusting the line length or width, where you change the size to like a thicker size. You make an axis label for your y-axis, whereas we put KM units over here, and we change the font size to maybe like a 36, make it bigger. And you see it populates right there. Your x-axis, making sure that there's like tick marks that we can apply. So we usually do like a minor tick mark. We either create a border or two around it, where we have a border around the where you see like the border here. You see the tick marks on the x-axis. We can even create axis label for the x-axis, where we put wave numbers. I believe it's like CM, and then it has a subscript. We go to subs or superscript. I'm sorry, and I think it's like -1. I'm just going through the whole thing, but we'll go through a video where where we change the fonts, and I can show you how to basically do stuff like this, um, where you can see the x-axis and stuff like that. And then, sorry, one more thing just to make it kind of easy. Do another border around the y-axis. Text, boom. Okay. Yeah. So we'll go through a video where I can show you how to do all this other, you know, making the graph look appealing and stuff like that. But we want to wait till we have all the KM transforms into one, and where it's like officially ready, so you can start adjusting the looks and everything like that. But yeah, that's it. That is the KM transform. We discussed, the process of starting from the, the table to line to norm to KM. We discussed some error messages, such as, naming the file names too long so they don't upload in Igor. Another thing that may happen is that you may, when you start creating these long commands, you may, you know, rename something. You got norm. What if you selected the wrong name up here and you clicked norm1 on accident? When you try to enter that, you're going to get this message saying that it doesn't know what file you're looking for, so it can't complete the transform. It can't complete the equation. So making sure that you're selecting the right files from this command list when you're substituting the equation and stuff like that. But that is it. That is the KM transform. Thank you.